Coming up on the pod this week, I talk about my shows in Seattle over the weekend. A lot of stories from those shows and being in that city. And I do want to mention other tour dates while I have you here at the beginning. I'm going to be at the Brea Improv tomorrow. So if you live in Orange County or even the LA area, come to Brea tomorrow. It's the last LA area show I'll be doing probably till next year. So come see me, dude, at a beautiful comedy club. And after that, I am going to Texas. I'm going to San Antonio at LOL Comedy Club June 20th, and then Creek in the Cave in Austin, Texas, June 21st to the 22nd, and then Panama City, Florida, St. Petersburg, Florida, Houston, Dallas. Dallas is a big show. That's July 28th on a Sunday. Don't miss that show. DC, August 9th through the 10th, then Chicago at the end of August, San Diego, and then Sunnyvale, California. Come out and see the shows, dude. Much more shows are being added, and I'm glad I remembered this because I almost forgot. I'm going to start doing this thing for podcast listeners only. I am going to tease new tour dates to you. Actually, I'm not even going to tease them. I'm just going to tell you my tour dates that before I announce them. I'm going to tell you here on the pod. I'm going to call them Save the Dates, okay? Because some of the tickets aren't on sale yet, but I'm going to tell you guys the exclusive added tour dates that no one knows about, and I have 4 to tell you about at the end of the show. So yeah, I'm going to start doing that and reward you guys for being podcast listeners. And also, let's enough of this yapping, dude. Let's just start the podcast. Let's go now. What's good? Willie B Pod back in action. I got my 2 favorite beverages here. I got a LaCroix Pure, not a sponsor, but it's so good that I'll advertise for free because of how much I enjoy it. I love it, dude. It's probably my favorite plain bubbly water is the LaCroix Pure. Fantastic. And you can get that shit on Amazon for you can get a 12-pack for $6 next day delivery. What? Unless you don't have Amazon Prime. And if you don't, get with it. How do you not have Prime? It's insane. The next day delivery is how are we not all freaking out about that? How do I order a obscure toothpaste and they find it in the warehouse and give it to me the next day, and I don't even have to leave my couch? Come on, dude. This is the most sponsored, not sponsored show of all time. And dude, I'm also drinking some espresso out of this cup, and I'm trying to show you guys. Again, I can't really see the camera, so hopefully you guys can pick it up okay. It's this little white cup, perfect for coffee, and it says William. That's my name. And dude, this was a gift from when I was a baby. So someone gave this to me. Well, they didn't give it to me. I was a baby. They gave it to my parents, and they saved it, and now I drink out of it. This is since I'm 63 years old, this is a really old cup. And yeah, dude, just a perfect little coffee cup, and I drink out of it every day. Anyways, dude, I want to keep doing comment shout outs, by the way. Please subscribe to the podcast. You already know that I want you to do that, so it's why do I even say it, I'm starting to shout out comments that I like on YouTube people leave on the show to entice you guys to leave some comments. So this comment was great. This is from Ryani369. Have you read Leslie Jones' new book on Audible? Your videos are really insightful to an industry that a lot of people don't know how things work. And her book goes through a lot of similar topics you're on right now. 10-year comics versus newer, different venues, pay, all of it. It's worth your time if you haven't yet. I learned a lot. Keep it up and hope to see you soon. I love it, man. Thanks for the recommendation. And also, thanks for the comment. I appreciate your support. And dude, Leslie Jones fucking roasted me once. I visited Los Angeles before I moved here during my senior year of college to do some sort of job interview. I think it was for a production company, and I didn't end up getting it, but I visited just to see if this is a place I wanted to live, And I went to the Comedy Store each night. This is the peak of the Comedy Store. Actually, no, you know what it was? It wasn't. It was right before the peak of the Comedy Store because they did this thing where if you showed them a tweet, then you can get in for free. And so I did that. Again, and then when I moved to LA, it would sell out pretty much every night, so you couldn't get in. But I would show them at the door. Dude, this is crazy to think about. I haven't even thought about this in a long time. Dude, the lineups were Sebastian, Bobby Lee, Santina, or, whatever. It's there's the just monsters, Leslie Jones, Bill Burr. It was and I'd show them a thing, and they'd let me in for free, and I would just sit there. It was unreal. And the second night I went, Leslie Jones popped in, and I wore this like cardigan sweater, and she immediately targeted me and was like, "Hey, like, who you here with?" And I was sitting next to like some girl or something, and she was like, "Who you with her?" And I was like, "No." And she was like, "Yeah, probably because you're wearing that fucking sweater." And everyone was like, "Oh!" And I was like, "Ha ha 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 ha." So I got crowd worked. I got crowd worked by Leslie Jones, and she is scary. Let's talk about Seattle. Little background, as I like to do, give some context. You know what I'm saying? I was doing a weekend at this club called Laughs Comedy Club, and this is a club I did last year for my Seattle shows. What basically happened is that I reached out to them during my Just Us phase, which if you're new to me, before I had an agent, I basically put on an entire indie comedy tour where I basically like hit up the venues myself and did everything solo. And I hit them up to see if they wanted to do a show with me, and they offered me a Thursday, and I was like, thank you, but I'm going to try to push for a Saturday show. I did. And I did. I found a 60-seat venue, and I sold out 2 of those shows. And then I went back to Laughs and was like, hey, how about that Thursday? And they were like, you got it. And then we did it, and then I fucking sold it out. So that was cool. The club seats 190, and I remember having an unbelievable experience there. I'd say it was probably a top 5 show of the year. It was just electric. There was something about the show and the venue itself that was fantastic. It was 190 is a great amount of people, and it's packed in. It's a small space. The ceilings are low. Very intimate. It's really a perfectly built comedy club. So I was really stoked to not only be offered a weekend, but to be performing there and just have the experience of doing more shows at a club I love so much. And so, with me doing, selling so well in Seattle last year, I've grown a lot. I figured I would sell, much better, right? And my goal for the shows were I wanted to, so we're doing 2 shows each night, 7 and 9:45, and I wanted to sell out both the early shows. That was my goal. And I wasn't sure if I was going to get there because based off ticket sales, they weren't like going crazy. Oftentimes with weekends, you'll see a lot of last minute ticket sales, which is not great for someone like me who has anxiety because leading up to it, you're like, dude, what the do I suck? And then all of a sudden you sell 200 tickets in like 2-3 days. It's really crazy. I wish this wasn't a thing. Like, for example, I'm dealing with that in Austin right now. Ticket sales are like not great. And how do you not get stressed by that? It's a big market. It's an amazing club. And I'm like not doing well tickets wise. But I have to tell myself that it's weeks away and those last minute people will always be there to buy tickets. Not to mention Austin has to be a hard place to sell tickets now with like the boom of, the Mothership, Rogan's Club, and there's just so many options in Austin. So I have no idea how I'm going to sell there. But I assume it'll be a kind of a late buying market. I know I talked to my boy Blaustein, and even his shows took a while to sell out, and he's huge. So, and I hope he doesn't mind me saying that. I don't think that's, he still sold out every show. So it was just, it brought me a little bit of comfort being like, okay, cool. This is like, it's not that crazy if Austin, some late buying people. But again, it's fucking stressful, man. You know what I mean? Anyways, I'm really got off track, but I feel like I'm firing today, so I'm letting it. I'm cooking a little bit. I'm letting myself cook, Anyway, so my goal was to sell out the early shows, and I told that to my agent, which we do like a monthly check-in call. That's kind of how we do things. And I told her that, and oftentimes she'll be like, she'll beat me to it. She'll be like, okay, cool. Looking at where the ticket counts are now, there'll probably be this amount of people in that room. You'll probably sell out this show. Like, she has a really good gauge on it, and oftentimes she's like fucking spot on. And when I told her I want to sell out the early shows, she wasn't like, oh yeah, that'll happen. She was like, yeah, cool, great. So I was like, okay, I don't know what the chances of this happening are, but that's my goal, right? I brought my buddy Nolan Culver to open for me. Not only because he's my best pal and so goddamn funny, but he also lives in Seattle. He moved there during COVID and he just stayed there, and he's from there, and he just he just gets a bunch of stage time there, and it's like, why would you leave? I get it. And so it was fun for him because he got to do a weekend of shows and not have to leave home. That's awesome. He picked me up from the airport. It was great, man. And by the way, go follow Nolan Culver on Instagram. Also just because he's my pal, but also he posts such funny videos. He's been doing this new series where he does like bits in like a forest, and one of them went so viral, and I'm so happy because they're so funny. So go follow him and watch those, because that motherfucker makes me laugh, dude. I was staying in an area of Seattle called a U District. It's like University District. It's where University of Washington is. And boy, walking around the streets, it felt like I was back in high school. Dude, there was like rambunctious teenagers everywhere. And I felt like I was going to get beat up around every street corner. Every corner, I felt like some guy who's 6'2" and has flowy hair and a puka shell necklace was going to be like, pussy. I'm like, oh, gee, sorry. Oh, sorry, you're right. Oh, sorry, I walked around the corner too tight. I should have walked around wider so I didn't almost hit you, sir. I felt like I was going to get bullied at every shawarma place I went to. I ate shawarma 2 nights in a row. That they just have random Mediterranean places that are open late. Shout out to Mediterranean food, actually, for being open late. When I want something that's not a burger or pizza or some bullshit, Mediterranean's there. Thank you, people of Mediterranean. Love the hotel, man. They put me in this hotel where it wasn't like a Hilton. It was like a one-off chain. Not a one-off chain. That's a fucking, what's the word? That it's contradicting each other. What's the word? God damn it. This is when I would love to have a producer. Whatever, dude. I stayed in this hotel, and it was called The Graduate, and it was just really nicely decorated. It wasn't just like a Hampton Inn. It was just a nice hotel. Everything I needed. It was a perfect hotel. They didn't have a fridge or a microwave, which was kind of crazy, but I liked the design so much that I didn't really care, especially because, dude, not only did they have a coffee shop in the lobby, they had like a legit coffee shop in the lobby, like a coffee shop that I would venture out to go to, like a nice one, right? Oftentimes you'll get like a Starbucks in the lobby and you're like, yes, dude. Even though Starbucks sucks, it's like the convenience is worth the burnt ass coffee, right? I mean, it's so annoying that I held the LaCroix the whole time, didn't drink it. Sometimes I'll watch videos where you'll like the person will pick up a drink and then you're just waiting for them to drink it and they put it back down and you're like, ah. So dude, it was like a legit coffee shop, and it was so nice to wake up and walk down there and get like a nice espresso in the morning. It was just electric. And the only flaw with the hotel was that they do this thing where they put the mirror on back of the bathroom door, so when you close it and you're sitting on the toilet, you're just looking at yourself in a mirror. Whose idea is this? What type of freaky shit are these bathroom architects into? I've never been pooping and thought, I wonder what I look like right now. I don't want to make eye contact with myself as my butthole is expanding. Put the mirror on the side of the wall so I can check myself out before I leave the bathroom. Or if you're real freaky, you can poop and get the side angle. You know what I mean? Let me make the choice if I want to look at myself while I'm taking a goddamn poop. Okay? I've been on a caffeine kick lately, man. I've been loving caffeine. Sometimes my life is just a cycle of weed and caffeine. Weed at night, caffeine all day. I fucking love caffeine. It's like, I don't know what the downside is, but I just love how it makes me feel. I never feel too jittery. It just keeps me sharp, locked in. I started drinking these yerba mates. It's like a flavored tea thing with really low sugar. It's like 3 grams of sugar and like 150 milligrams of caffeine. And this continues to be the most not sponsored show in the history of podcasts. Anyways, I love caffeine, dude. Can you comment? Do me a favor. Comment, not only just comment anything you want, but comment like, what's your caffeine intake per day? Like I do 2 shots of espresso in the morning and then probably a second one of those later in the day. Or I'm going to start doing these yerba mates because I just want to change it up. You know, sometimes I don't want milky espresso, while I'm working out. What's your caffeine intake? I want to know. Tell me. So we get to the club Friday and so we walk into the club, and Nolan actually started at this club. So the owner, She's awesome. She knows Nolan, and we walked in and we get to the green room and she walks in and she goes, "Nolan, what are you doing here? I didn't know you were going to be here this weekend." And I'm like, uh-oh, here we go. Problem. This is a problem. Sure enough, there was some miscommunication and she didn't know I was bringing an opener, so she booked 2 other openers. So immediately there's an issue. And this is no one's fault. I'm not blaming anybody. There was a miscommunication. It fucking happens, okay? And she was going to cancel both these people, one of which this dude drove from 3 hours away to do these shows. And my first thought, this is why I love having a friend with me. My first thought was, sorry, this is not my fault. I communicated the correct way through my agency. They said Nolan was coming, and I'm so sorry to cancel people, but that's not my fault, and it's not my problem, right? And I kind of was already in that zone. And then Nolan, he was like, yo, I think you should just let that kid do some time. And right when Nolan said that, I was like, you're right. I'm so happy you said that because you're fucking right. So I said, hey, don't cancel the kid who drove from 3 hours. Let's have him open the show. And Nolan, that works out well for him because then he doesn't have to cold open the show. He goes on with a warmed up crowd. So of course Nolan's pitching that. Smart guy, right? And so I told the owner and she was like almost relieved. And she was like, that's very generous of you. And I was like, wow, what a good move. Like, what the fuck was I on before? Thank God Nolan checked me. And sure enough, the kid was like super nice, super like wants to stay out of the way. Because you don't know, dude, with local openers, you just don't know how they're going to be. It could be people who are like, they want to yap your ear off for every second until you go on stage, and you have to like set a boundary with them. It's like, dude, or they're terrible on stage. There's so many factors that I'm like, I don't want to deal with this. But sure enough, this kid was so nice and so polite, and he went on stage and did great. It's like win-win. This all worked out. It's like good karma type shit. And the what was interesting also, dude, this weekend was such a crazy time. They were super understaffed this weekend. They had 2 people like quit right before the weekend, probably because they saw I'm coming. They're like, oh, that guy? Oh, that Wilbur guy? Yeah, goodbye. I'm not cooking chicken tenders for no Wilbur audience. So they were understaffed, and they were like running and gunning. I mean, the woman who runs the club was waiting tables, dude. It was honestly fucking gangster. Shout out to them and shout out to her. It was so, like, I respect the fuck out of that. You know what I mean? I mean, they were so understaffed that there was no sound person. Like, if I wanted a walk-up song, I had to have one of the Nolan or the other guy hit play on the thing on the iPad. So I would oftentimes walk out. I didn't walk out to a walk-up song the whole time. I just walked on stage, which was a little weird, but dude, we're running and gunning, man. We're in the heat of the battle. Me and the club, let's knock this shit out. It's all good. So I get on stage first show Friday, and I expected the club to be on like, oh, I didn't even mention this. Dude, the Friday early show sold out. Yes! Sold it out. And the Saturday early show was still not sold out, and at that point, it was like at 120-ish out of 190. So I was like, no clue, right? But the early show sold out. So again, I'm expecting electricity, right? Because I've done that club when it's sold out. It's fucking sick. And I get up there and it was like, wasn't on fire. It was pretty good. And I just didn't expect it. And I did some jokes, did a little crowd work. It felt like I was pulling teeth. I kept catching boring people by accident. Like, bro, crowd work is gambling. So sometimes you get some boring people and you got to just try to muscle through it and figure out some way to spin it to make it funny. And I swear, man, it took me until like 25 minutes into the set that I felt like I finally had this crowd cooking. I don't know what it was. I had that interaction that I posted yesterday with the matchmaking, the older couple that met via a matchmaker. That was the moment where the show turned. That's where it started to get fire and started cooking. Because I had this moment that I didn't post in the video because posting the context wouldn't have made sense, but the older guy I was talking to was a software engineer, and the guy sitting in front of him I had talked to earlier and was also a software engineer. So when the older guy said he was a software engineer, I was looking at them like, whoa, what the, it's like before and after. And that killed.
Software engineer. Bro, it's like before and after. That's crazy.
But I couldn't put it in the video because it was like I would have to set up this guy's boring story to then get to the other thing. And when posting clips, you have to make it funny within the first like 5 or 6 seconds, or else people are going to swipe through it. That's just something I've adopted recently in the clips. You got to make it funny fast. And so that was the moment that I finally felt like I had this crowd, and the rest of the set was fire. Awesome. Happy. And so after the show, we do the meet and greet, and I'm going to tell you what I was thinking in the moment, and then I'll tell you kind of the reason for what happened. So basically, I was doing the meet and greet, and I watched most of, I'd say, the entire show walk out the other exit and not talk to me. 190 people. I probably talked to 15, and some of those people didn't even know who I was. So now we know that every club, when you do a weekend, you typically will get the people who just go to the comedy club every week, right? This is their normal date night. They just go to the club. Doesn't matter who's headlining, they just go. And you'll always get those at these shows. And I love that. Try to get some new fans, right? So there'll always be people that leave. But in a sold out show in a big market for me, I'm expecting these meet and greets to be long. But dude, it was sad. Everyone left. I swear to God, I took 2 pictures. It was like, what is happening? And it was so demoralizing because here I am. I sold out this show. I'm so pumped. And it's like no one gives a fuck about me. No one wants to talk to me. It makes me think I did a bad job. It makes me think that they aren't actually fans of me. This is just people that go to the club. It was legit demoralizing. Like I went back in the green room after with Nolan and I was like kind of like, what the fuck? Because it's like you really just work so hard in stand-up to be relevant, to have fans, to be able to sell tickets and people to know you. And it was this moment where I was like, I thought that I got there, but maybe I'm wrong. Now, flash forward, the reason was that there was another miscommunication. I don't know what happened, but someone forgot to like rope off the second exit. And so the idea was to have everyone funnel out the back and see me. But then for whatever reason, that wasn't done. And so everyone left out the other exit, as they should, because it makes more sense. And so people like saw me on the other side of the fence and were like, oh, there he is. Whatever. We're already out of the club. Feels weird to go back. So again, it was an accident, but I didn't know that at the time. Like I found this out the next day when we were setting up the meet and greet for the rest of the shows, where I was like, oh, okay, here's why that happened. But it like got in my head, And but again, no one's fault. I'm not blaming anybody. It is what it is, right? And then we go to the late show. So now it's like I'm already demoralized, and it's like, and also if you're being like a little bit disappointed with the show because I thought that shit was gonna bang the whole time, and I was like pulling teeth a little bit in some moments. So I was feeling like kind of demoralized, and now I'm like, oh cool, now we get to go into the hardest show of the weekend. Friday late, always the hardest show, always the worst ticket sales and the hardest show. That was the show I had in Providence where I like completely lost the entire room. It's like a hard show, right? There's 50 people in there. I let the kid do another set on the late show because he did well. And I was like, fuck it, let's just have him do 5 minutes to open the show. That way Nolan doesn't have to go up cold. And I feel like I still did a nice thing, right? So he went up and Nolan went up and the guys were struggling a little bit. I could tell the crowd was tough. And the key word for this week is expectations. I had very high expectations for the early show and the meet and greet. And that led to disappointment. For the late show, I had very low expectations. Ended up being so fun, okay? I went up with like almost this fuck it confidence where I just was like, this is going to be hard. Whatever. There's very low stakes. It's like we can only go up from here, right? So I was kind of like, fuck it. And I went up and I did a set like I've never done before. Dude, I was like riffing and talking to the crowd like the whole set, going in and out of material, Because typically I have a thing where I do some jokes, I do crowd work, I go back to a few jokes, then boom, I do more crowd work, and then we do the rest of the set. It's like I have this design of how I like my set to go. This one, I was just all over the place. I was saying all sorts of shit I've never said before, talking to people way more than I do. It was almost like I like created this moment and this bond with this 50 people. We felt like we were just in this moment together. I was saying shit like, here's why Friday late shows are always the hardest show of the weekend. Like, I was being almost too honest, saying stuff that I never say on stage. It was just this connection that I formed with these people. And this happens to me sometimes where I'm better in front of a smaller audience. And this is one of those instances where I was more my authentic, silly self, and they responded to it. It felt like we were on the same team. We just were in this moment together, and the set rocked. It was so fun. I got a bigger applause at the end of my set on the late show than I did the sellout early show. Because I think the people saw that it was a hard show. They saw how I adapted. They saw how I handled myself, and they appreciated it, and they respected it. And they were so cool after. I was on some weird shit, and they were into it. I had one guy walk out and was like, yo, man, I really wanted some sort of weird show tonight, and you gave me that in the best possible way. Thank you. I just felt so seen as myself. Never would have seen that coming. And I was very proud of myself. Saturday during the day, the early show, I woke up, the early show was not sold out. So again, I don't know where the tickets are at, so I'm just kind of like, hey, hopefully I can, but who the fuck knows? So Nolan owns a podcast studio in Seattle. He owns podcast studios in LA and Seattle, and we decided to go to the Seattle one and record a podcast. And I still have to look at it, but if all goes well, I'm going to put that out next week as next week's podcast. Because it looks great, it sounds great. We'll see if I like it or not. If you don't see it next week, that means I didn't really like it. And so, but we did that, give it a shot, and I ate a sushi burrito, which, yo, if y'all like sushi, have y'all done sushi burritos? That shit rocks. Because you don't have to chopstick it. You can just slam it, and it was delicious. They also covered it in eel sauce, and eel sauce is just this like sweet, like almost glaze where you put eel sauce on a bag of poopy, and you're like, it's not bad. It's that good. So if you drain it, if you douse it in eel sauce, it's like, yeah, dude, this is like a fucking birthday cake. So of course it's gonna taste good. But man, a sushi burrito, dude, I'm into it. So cut to the shows Saturday night, and we get to the late afternoon around 5 p.m., and I check the tickets, and the early show is sold out. Yes, I fucking did it. I sold out both early shows. That was my goal. I said I was going to do it, and I fucking did it. Man, it felt good. I was really happy. But again, I didn't know what to expect for the early show, because the early show the night before was like kind of work, you know? And show up to the club, they're even more short-staffed. Their cook didn't show up. Like, okay. So the owner's waiting tables again. The GM is fucking in the back cooking. It was unlike anything I've ever seen. But again, kind of like how it felt like on the Friday Late Show, I felt like me and the staff members of this club were like, again, we like went to war together. It felt really nice to just feel like we had this experience together. We bonded through it. It was unlike any experience I've had at a club, and I loved it. And because of how short-staffed they were, the owner was like, hey, do you mind like stretching a little bit and doing a little bit more time tonight so we can, we're going to be a little behind, right? And so we have time to get out the checks and all that stuff. And I was like, no problem. No one's ever asked me to do that before. So I was kind of like a little bit like, all right, I'll just, I'll stretch a little bit, see how it goes. And, I told Nolan, do a couple extra minutes, and he did. No other opener tonight. It was just me and him. And so I get on stage, and the crowd is much better up top, like banging up top. And I was like, there it is. There's the feeling I was looking for in a sold-out room like this. There it is. And I was excited. I was like, here we go, baby. This is what I wanted last night. And I was getting it. Started doing some crowd work. still felt a little wonky somehow. I don't know what was going on, but normally, like, in this type of environment, when you start doing crowd work, especially if people know you, that shit is rocking, dude. Because you need good energy for crowd work. You need people to be, like, excited. But again, it felt like in the moment I was like, oh, this feels like one of those shows where it's like not everyone here is my fans. And so it felt like half the room was stoked for crowd work. The other half of the room was like, why is he talking to them? Keep doing jokes, clown boy. And I thought that because the material was like crushing and the crowd work was a little bit of work. So it just felt, it was like a reverse. It was this weird thing where, you know what it felt like? It felt like a reverse of the early show, which in this crowd also was, well, it wasn't a reverse. Let me say that better. It was basically, they were so fire up top and they were definitely fun throughout the show, but then they started to get tired. Oh, that's what I meant. That's why it was a reverse. I wrote down in my notes here that it was a reverse, and I was trying to figure out what the fuck I meant by that. I hit myself with the Uno reverse and got nervous. That's exactly what it was. The early show Friday, they started slow and they got awesome. This show, they started awesome, and then I felt them lose energy. And in my head, I was like, oh, of course, the one time I got a stretch, you guys are losing energy? Keep it together, right? I got to stretch. They're understaffed, man. Fix the meet and greet. Overall, it was a great show. It was an awesome show. If you're going to hear about how the show was from me, it's never going to be like how it actually was. It's going to be a very subjective recap of how the shows were. If you want to know how the shows really were, you should talk to, honestly, Nolan, because he'll be like, dude, you crushed. And I'm like, yeah, but. And that's what this whole show is. This whole show is yeah, but. Fixed the meet and greet, thank God, so it wasn't sad. So I met way more people, and everyone was so cool, and it was all good. But I had yet to feel the feeling after a show where I'm like, fuck yeah. I had yet to feel that. Like Friday late, it was fuck yeah, but for a different type of reason. It was because of how I handled the moment, not because the show was amazing. So I was still waiting for that one show that I was like, there we go, dude. There it is. And thank God we had that late show, because that show was the best show of the weekend. The Saturday late show was fire. It was so fun. I sold 98 tickets for a late show, which is great. And they were awesome. It was a perfect amount of, it was the perfect type of people. They were the right amount of rowdy. They were excited. They were respectful. Nolan had some family there, so they were stoked. They cheered really loud for Nolan, and I was like, hey, less. No, this is my time. It was, and I finally had that like banger crowd work moment that I really want every show, and I got it. I'm going to post that clip next week. I talked to a guy, and his name was Torsten. So when you see the clip, that's the one I'm talking about. It was this moment where I was like, there we go, dude. A moment where I thought I was objectively very funny and smart, and I was like happy with myself. So it was the best meet and greet. Like the most people I talked to, they were so excited and so nice. It was just such a perfect vibe, and what a way to end the weekend with the best show of the weekend. Shout out to everyone who came to the shows in Seattle. I had such a great time. I love that club. Shout out to Laughs Comedy Club and everything they're doing there. Go support that club. It's such a great place. And it was interesting when I talked to the owner after, and she was like, she was asking me kind of like, oh, were there people that came back from when you were here last time, and did you have new material? Asking me like really good questions. And we talked about the idea of like making sure to give people new material when they come back and see you. And it was a really good reminder that someone from the club perspective even thinks about that. They were thinking about, oh, make sure you give these people some new stuff. And I agreed with her on that. It was a good reminder to make sure of that, which is something I'm very conscious of. Another weekend down. What a time. Learned a lot, as I always do. Highs and lows. All part of the journey. Before I go, I want to give you, I forgot to do an OSO update last week. If you are new to the show, Kaylee, my lovely girlfriend, and I, we adopted a dog from a shelter about a month ago. He's I'd say a 70-pound shepherd mix, and I've been giving updates on how he's doing on the podcast. The big update is that he is a couch dog now. He started getting on to the couch to sleep, and it's very cute and it's very sweet because he had his little bed that he would sleep on, but he never got on the couch. And now when he got onto the couch, he was like, "Oh shit, this is nice. I could have been up here the whole time." So he's been chilling on the couch, and I already have attached pictures and videos at this point. It's very sweet. He's still misbehaving a little bit. His big thing is getting into the trash. He's so big that he fucking knocks over like an industrial trash can and eats everything and then poops in the house. So that we're trying to figure out. I bought us like a doggy gate, so it's like a little gate that he'll probably burst through it or jump over it, but hopefully not. He's peed a couple times in the house, poopied a little bit because of the trash. And I always say to her, I'm like, man, the ways he is misbehaving, he's just being a dog. He's such a dog. Everything that he does wrong is the most classic dog behavior. It's like I was gonna say dog shit, which is also applies in this situation. But it's like he read a book about if you're gonna misbehave as a dog, here's how you do it. But he's been very sweet. I don't know if I love him yet, but I really, really like him. It takes me a little while to open up, especially with animals. Like, I really like him, and there's some days where I really, really, really like him, but some days he pisses me off. And I think that's just having a dog, man. I think that's how it goes. So I will continue to give you guys weekly Oso updates. And his name's Oso, by the way. I don't even think I said that part. Yo, let me give you guys some save the dates. So these are tour dates that are not going to be released for, another month or two. Here's the new ones I got, dude. Richmond, Virginia, October 9th. That one's on sale right now, actually. Virginia Beach, October 10th, also on sale. And then your boy's going back to Pittsburgh, October 23rd at the Pittsburgh Improv. Not on sale yet, but save the date. And then the next night, I'm driving to Buffalo. I'm going to be at Helium Buffalo, October 24th. Never been there before. It's been on the list, and we're finally doing it. Not on sale, save the date. And the last save the date, a big one, Philly. I'm coming, baby. November 17th. It's on a Sunday. I will be at Helium. Can't fucking wait. I've heard that club rips, and I am so excited to be there. Again, not on sale yet, but save the date. Make sure you're around for those shows. I will continue to give you guys these save the dates because I think I want to reward you guys for going on this journey with me because, and again, that's not a huge reward, but it's just something a little bit special just for you guys. So anyways, have a good rest of the week. That's the podcast. Please subscribe, leave comments. I will pick my favorite one to shout it out next week. Appreciate you guys as always. Talk to you guys next week.